Hey everyone, it's Rob in the Abyss. It's 1975, and it's a no-brainer. It's Jaws. Um, what can I say? It's one of my all-time favorite movies, from the standpoint of how it's filmed, from the music with John Williams, with the actors and the way that they had a chemistry together and a flow. And I'll use this movie in class as showing the actors little tidbits and things that are simple but yet make such great moments in film history. Um, if this movie's on, I'm going to stop and watch it. Doesn't matter what part, doesn't matter what time of the day. If I see it, I'm stopping and watching. I just love the film. And what's funny is, as a kid, it's about the shark, it's about the suspense, it's about the scariness of it. But as I've gotten older and understood acting a little bit more and understand the film a little bit more, I appreciate the way the film was shot, and I appreciate the way the acting was done, and the whole collaboration of the film. Yeah, it's a horror suspense film, but really it's just a quality film. And that's despite all of the issues that it had early on filming it. Of course, the shark, which they named Bruce, not working, which turned out to be a godsend for Spielberg because he created the illusion of the shark, which made the movie scarier than actually seeing the shark throughout the whole movie. And then the orca in the ocean. This is like I said, the first movie filmed out at sea, and you got this young director, and the orca sinking with the actors on the boat, or Spielberg being a perfectionist and trying to get every shot perfect, and so they were set behind on budget, and all of these issues, but eventually they were able to get this movie out and become legendary status. Once again, I was talking about this with Psycho many segments ago, and you go on the Universal tour, and they modernize the tour, but there's two spots: the Psycho House, and then of course the Jaws section where you drive through and the shark pops up, that they still have up there. That's how monumental this film is, that it stands the test of time. You hear that theme song and you know what that is. When they were casting this, Lorraine Gary, who plays Chief Brody's wife, was the first hired. She was married to the president of Universal at the time. And then Murray Hamilton, who plays the mayor, who you saw as Mr. Robinson in The Graduate, was hired. But one of the things Spielberg wanted to do was he didn't want huge name actors. He wanted more common name actors of the time, because he wanted people to feel like they were in this together, almost like this was the common man dealing with this, kind of like we would be dealing with it. So he hired Roy Scheider as Chief Brody. But then 9 days before production, they still hadn't had the character of Quint or Hooper cast yet. Well, eventually, after saying no, Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss decided to get on, and here we go. For me, it's the little things in movies, and we talk about this a lot in class, that draw me to not only movies but music. I like little creative things, and I love the fact that the majority of this film was shot at Martha's Vineyard. So it goes back to these early films where a lot of it is done on location, and you can go to Edgartown still, and you can see little areas of where that movie was filmed, the little town of Amity, or you can go to Minishma. I think it's Minimisha, I think is how you pronounce it, which is the little fisherman town in Martha's Vineyard, where Quint was located, and you see the ship sail off to go after the shark, and then you can go to where the bridge is, where the shark swims underneath it, or the lighthouse, and so once again, we're always talking about being in film sets. You go to Martha's Vineyard, you can walk around the Jaws film set, which is pretty cool. The movie definitely stands the test of time, and like I said, from the acting standpoint to the filming standpoint to the music and everything like that, it just really stands the test of time. And it's one of those movies that I think we've all seen, but the more you watch it, you can watch it in a different light and appreciate the film from a different direction than just the shark. It's one of the best, one of my favorites, and it's definitely number one in 1975. On the music side, 1975 starts for me a run on what could be my favorite album every year being a Rush album. And I've kind of gone back and forth with this because I want to give a mixture of different albums for people to look at or pay attention to, or see if they've listened to them or if they need to revisit them or whatever. So I originally was going to go with, you know what, I'm not going to do Rush every year. Um, but then I went with, well, this is supposed to be my favorite. So if Rush is my favorite, I can talk about these other albums and appreciate them, but still have Rush as my favorite. And I think that's the way I'm going to go. So I'm going to start with um, Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti, which of course has the legendary songs, you know, Kashmir, 10 Years Gone, Trampled Underfoot, Custard Pie. But then on the flip side, two of my favorites, The Rover, Houses of the Holy, and then several others. And what's cool is, like we were talking about the other day, these mini albums they make, and this one is a little bit more extensive than just the little mini cover that I showed you the other day. This actually has like the full setup where you can slide out the album, or the CD album in this case, and open it up just like the record was. Instead of being a record, it's a CD, but it gives you the full feel of what it was like in 1975 when they released this. To me, it's my favorite Zeppelin album. It's phenomenal. It's timeless. Check it out. The next one up is been popular lately because of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, and that is A Night at the Opera by Queen. Um, this album to me has always been my favorite Queen album, but of course, that is the album in the movie that they end up covering more than any other album. Um, it really focuses on Bohemian Rhapsody and the recording of that album, I'm in Love with My Car, etc. And it's a really good album because it has that flow that I've been talking about, where you listen to song one and it just goes. It starts with Death on Two Legs, which for me is one of the top Queen songs of all time. Then it goes into Lazy on a Sunday Afternoon, and then goes into I'm in Love with My Car. Then You're My Best Friend, which by the way is a song that Amy and I used on our wedding video. It's a song that we really like. And then, you know, of course you have songs like 39 and you know, Love of My Life, and then of course the famous Bohemian Rhapsody. Um, and you know what's cool is I like when music and movies kind of meet. You know, whether that be a song title or a reference in a movie or whatever. And what Queen did here was A Night at the Opera, and then the next album, which is A Day at the Races, are actual movie titles of Marx Brothers films. So they've kind of connected the film side to their music side. But this is a phenomenal record from start to finish, and of course has been made to legendary status based on the movie over the last year. So check that one out. And then, like I said, at number one, I'm going with Rush, Fly By Night. This is the first album with Neil Peart on drums. For the first Rush album, there was a drummer named John Rutsey. He had some illnesses and stuff and had to leave the band. They brought in Neil, and the rest is, as I say, almost every episode, history. Not only did Neil bring in his skill as a drummer, and in my opinion, the greatest rock drummer of all time, but also his lyric writing. And this is where the start of Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson writing a lot of the music, and then Neil Peart writing the lyrics, and then them getting together and putting together these amazing songs. Is a trend that goes on from 75 until their last album. And unfortunately, Neil died earlier this year. And so, you know, any possibility of anything Rush ever again looks to be gone. But, you know, this album is the start of the classic Rush sound for me. And don't get me wrong, the first Rush album is phenomenal. It's great. It's raw. It's a rocker. And I like it a lot, but I, as I explained before, I like lyrics and music together, and with Neil bringing in this lyric content. And you know, it's funny because he talks about the habits of writing things in his notebook, and he's always reading, he's always learning about things. And we talk about that as actors. The more you know, the easier it is to talk on things. And he puts that down in his lyric writing, and it brings a depthness to Rush where they're musically really, really tight as the three of them. But then on the flip side, the lyrics take to a next level. And from the acting standpoint, I was watching an interview with Geddy Lee, who also is the singer, and he was saying he takes those lyrics and he learns them so well, it's as if he wrote them. The same way we talk about as actors that you have to learn your dialogue so well, it's as if you wrote it. It comes from you. So when he sings those songs, it comes from him. And there's just such a tightness that like I said, that for me, this is really a start of a run of some amazing Rush albums. And if you've always been on the fence or unsure, or only heard the popular songs or whatever, you need to start checking these albums out. They're really high quality music, and genius in my opinion. So Fly By Night is the winner for 75 on the music side, and of course the legendary Jaws on the movie side. So check it out. Make sure you leave comments. Make sure you haven't subscribed yet to do that, and I'll see you tomorrow.